Of all the legends to emerge from the barren landscapes of Death Valley, there is one that seems to outshine the rest. A tale of dreams and endurance. This is the story of Aguereberry Camp. Alright, so today we are in Death Valley, and we're off of Emigrant Canyon Road up here, which is famous for the gold-seeking immigrants, the Jayhawkers and the Manly Lewis Party. Pete Aguereberry was born to a French Basque family in 1874. Reading stories of California's gold fields, young Pete begged his father to let him travel to America. By 1890, when Pete was just 16 years old, his father agreed to allow him to sail to this land of possibility. In his quest to learn English, Pete took several jobs, including as a sheep herder and ranch hand, and in June of 1905 made his way through Death Valley, where he almost died from the extreme heat. This is when Pete met the famous Frank Shorty Harris, the legendary single-blanket jackass prospector, who was perhaps most famous for his strike at the Bullfrog Mine, later the town site of Rhyolite, Nevada. Shorty Harris is a Death Valley legend. This is a guy who lived out here in the early 1900s and spent a lot of time gold mining. Shorty Harris was all over Death Valley, from Badwater Basin all the way out to Ballarat. Should be an interesting visit. Let's go check it out. This is a quintessential, well-graded road out here in Death Valley. Could you imagine coming out here with your one burro, traveling through these canyons, hoping to find a rock that contains some kind of mineral that's gonna get you some kind of wealth? Having to deal with 100-degree temperatures, blasting winds, freezing nights, some of the driest air you can find in the Western Hemisphere. Anyone who came out here back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, really had a different mentality and a different character that you probably don't find too often today. It was one day when Shorty and Pete were making their way across the Panamints toward Ballarat that they came upon what would later be known as the Eureka mine. They noticed the rich veins of quartz in the rocky outcrop, filed claims, and began mining for gold. Shorty and Pete set up Harrisburg, a tent camp that at one point housed up to 300 workers, and soon crowds of miners flooded in. So this is Aguereberry Camp. This is Pete Aguereberry. Harrisburg was not long-lived. In 1907, the claim was tied up in litigation, and by 1909, Pete took ownership of the Eureka mine and purchased Cashier Mill from Shorty Harris. He built himself a cabin and later 2 more lodgings, including a guest house. This was Pete's cabin. This is the original stove and refrigerator from the 1930s. Clearly, this old home has been badly damaged, not only by the elements, but by vandals who have found no value in the history and legacy of the area and the man, Aguereberry. Yeah, you can still see the rug. Must have been a nice little cabin. Table at least. Sat and did some journaling on, documenting the day's events. Look at this step here. Painted cardboard. Or tile. Let's see. Yeah, cardboard. This door. This peeling paint is testament to 100 years of life in Death Valley. Through blazing hot summers that reach upwards of 120 degrees, to freezing winters, windstorms, and dust, with each day it peels just a little bit more. How much longer will this cabin last? It's up here. Let's go take a look at it. Oh yeah. Room enough for two. How amazing. Shorty and Pete sitting here on the john, chatting about the day's events. Probably still got some remnants in there. Wow. You work this canyon. Probably a lot of water comes down here the rainy season. Looks like there's several tanks. Ah, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And that looks like a propane tank. So at least 12 or 13 different barrels to store water in. You can imagine during a summer thunderstorm, water gushing through this canyon and just filling up these barrels very quickly. And I would have probably sustained them for months. And this over here looks like probably maybe the outdoor workshop here. This Ramada. People clearly have smashed this place up, not appreciating the historical value. Years and years of neglect and vandalism. Anger. What brings someone out here with their shotgun to blast holes? What is that causes someone to feel the need to do that? Check out the rocks on top of this roof here. Keep it from blowing away. It's a nice little cabin. Check out this view. Must have been a very pleasant place to spend some time. I mean, Pete Aguereberry was out here for 40 years, 1905 to 1945. Whew, fantastic. Check out this little room. What more do you need? A cabin like this. Oh, look at this door. Maybe this was Shorty's place. Wow. So it has been kind of boarded back up, it looks like. Or maybe these are the original wood pieces. How cool. Check that out. Long live Shorty Harris and Pete Aguereberry. That old sink. We've got a book here. Pete Aguereberry. Let's take a look inside. Pete, Martin Brochon, and Charlie Nunn. There's Pete. He's over years. I wonder if that's one of the cars we saw. I think so. flip through this. Chris Wicht. Hey, there's a canyon in Panamint Valley named after Chris Wicht. Old prospectors. And there's the cabin as it looked back in 1941. Pete Aguereberry's home at the Eureka mine in Harrisburg Flats, as it was in 1941. Painting in foregrounds by Trona artist Virgil Trotter. This rare photo shows workmen preparing to stop leak in the Skidoo water pipeline in Harrisburg Flats. Winter of 1915. Wow. Uh-oh. Second hanging of Joel Hooch Simpson in a tent at Skidoo. The body had been exhumed for benefit of the press. Oh man. Wonder what story is there. History records that Joe Hooch Simpson was a gambler in the nearby town of Skidoo. In 1908, in cold blood, he murdered a well-respected butcher named James Arnold. Afterward, a mob seized Hooch from the sheriff's custody and hanged him from a telegraph pole. Legend has it that Simpson earned the nickname Twice Hanged Hooch when, after a reporter arrived to cover the story, some local citizens dug up the body and rehanged it for a photograph. Other tales claim that a local doctor later removed Hooch's head to study whether his violent behavior was linked to syphilis contracted in the red light district. Even today, visitors to the old Skidoo town site say that the headless ghost of Joe Hooch Simpson still wanders the desert. Pete Aguereberry and his nephew Ambrose Aguereberry at the Eureka mine. Indian George Hansen heading north for his Panamint Valley home after shopping at the Trona Company store, 1929. Old Death Valley map. So up there is the Eureka mine, and there's various adits that enter the hillside here, and an old car. Old Pete's car there. Buick Roadmaster, I think I read he had out here. And then one day he parked it, so it remains. So that right there must be the cashier mill where they processed all the ore. As you can see the tailings pile. Pull it out of this mountain here, process it over there, dump the leftover rocks, and take home the gold. They're added over here. Their rail line, bin. So they pulled the ore out of the mountain right here, brought it on rail, dumped out the rest. The railroad ties. And now it's all sealed off. These bat bars. The bats can get in here, go to sleep and hibernate. Hand-hewn timber mine set. That one looks like a juniper branch. So this up here is where the cashier mill was at. Let's go check out this little stone hut. Power for the mill is generated by gas in order to crush the ore, and then cyanide chemicals to extract the gold. So in total, Pete Aguereberry had 7 mining claims out here in Death Valley and persisted longer than any other miner in this area. And even though Aguereberry really never struck it rich, he did make enough to persist for 40 years of his life until 1945 when he died. Pete's cabin, the Eureka mine, and the cashier mill are all evidence of another one of Death Valley's greatest legends. Thanks for coming along with us on this episode. Hope to see you next time. Pete continued to work this claim until the 1930s and died on November 23, 1945. Aguereberry only made about $175,000 worth of gold, but his life was richer than most. In a land that broke many men, Pete Aguereberry endured, leaving behind not just a mine, but a story of perseverance in one of the harshest places on earth.